Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GCOR show. Today is a special GCOR show episode, though, because I'm here with the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Hurricane. How are you doing, my man?
I'm good. How are you? I'm doing really well.
I'm doing fine. You'll be doing brilliantly, especially after that P2 at Shanghai.
Oh yeah, no, it was awesome. I've been so close to getting a podium countless times, and it kind of stings when you come really close and you just get credited with fourth. Because that doesn't show up on the resume, right? But
Yeah,
to
true.
finally
Yeah,
get that podium in, really great points day. Even though I haven't moved up any spots, I've caught people in front of me. The constructors were looking a lot better, and
yeah,
I didn't really. I was very nervous going into the first corner, starting third. I was really worried I was just gonna maybe dive down accidentally or someone would come up and I would get spun out. But I was on the podium all race, which
mm,
is something that's never happened before. So that was really nice. Strategy was really scary on what to do, but it all worked out. And the rain fell, and I thought the day was over for me, to be honest, when the rain fell. But I was able to just focus up and got the podium. That was nice.
yeah, mate. Your pace at Shanghai was crazy. Like, even when you're on those inters, that must have been a really brave decision to not move on to the wet tires and stay on the intermediates.
Yeah, so pretty much what happened was I saw you guys pit. I saw the Mercedes, both of you guys in the Mercedes pit, your teammate off Freeman, and I was definitely thinking about pitting, and you guys were about 21, 22 seconds apart from me. And I'm like, well, I can still pit and come out at least ahead of you guys. You may be closer behind, but I can still come out ahead, which is what matters. But when you guys got into like
Yeah.
19, 18 seconds, then I knew now they're probably going to pass me if I pit, or it's going to be insanely close. And then, especially when you guys
Yeah.
got down to 13, 14, I just had to commit. And I didn't even know Coward was behind you, but he would have passed me as well. So at that point,
Yeah.
you just have to commit to what you're doing. Because if you don't, you're just going to lose out, and there's no point of doing what you did. You just messed up the whole race. So I committed. You guys got down to like 4 seconds, 3 seconds behind me. Um,
Real
Obviously,
rapid, yeah.
the track dried up a bit, so the wets fell off, and obviously you had Nass in front of you hurting you. But it worked out, so that was awesome. It was definitely scary though.
Yeah, me and Ollie Freeman and even Coward, we're all catching up to you guys at a rapid rate of knots. And then we got to Nas, right? And I thought it was going to be an easy move. But then I just couldn't get the traction from, I think it was turn 13, the long right hander, onto the back straight. And that Aston Martin, bro, you don't understand. That Aston Martin's rapid down the straight.
Yeah.
And he was also lagging a little bit, so making the move would have been a bit risky. But hey, at the end of the day, we move on. So happy for your P2, and hopefully we can get a better result next time.
Yeah, no,
But
yeah.
Hurricane, mate. I do have some questions, and that's how did your career start? Like from Formula B? Let's hear it.
So pretty much, yeah. After the Formula B, would you like me to talk about how I started, the transition to F1, or would you like the transition how I got into
Uh,
Formula B? Which one?
from Formula B, mate. We've got all day.
Yeah. So pretty much, yeah. I started Formula B after the Fortnite NASCAR stuff kind of ended because of the game, and had a pretty successful season. Got a win. Should have gotten probably one or two more. Got podiums in like all but one race. And obviously that's how I met you. That's how and Coward, and that's how I got the connection to really go to the. It was the F1 Xbox and PS4 league, and that's kind of how my F1 career started. Obviously, it started off horrible. I had zero pace. I was horrible. I was using a lot of assists. My AI was on like 75, but Coward was a really big mentor into where I am today, and I give a lot of credit to Coward to where I am today. He's a big part of that, and he
That
just
was on F1 2020 or 21.
he started mentoring me really in F1 21, but in 2020 we started kind of talking with each other. That's when
Yeah.
he started. He didn't like coach me then, but he helped me with a lot of things, and
Yeah, because that was like the first gen. That was the first gen of GCR, wasn't it?
yeah, that was the first one, and yeah, so that's kind of how it started, and I got the opportunity with Porsche when it was the custom teams, it was independent owners, as I would like to say.
Yeah.
But obviously, I really struggled, and funny enough, when we got to China that season, there was some kind of issue with the setup where it didn't input before the race. In one
Mm-hmm.
foot, that long hander you were talking about, that you go full throttle through.
Yeah.
My car had to brake. That's how bad the setup were. If you didn't brake, you're going to crash.
I mean, I'm surprised you go full throttle, mate. I'm there 30%, 40% throttle. I can't get the traction down.
Oh yeah, I was. Well, in the rain, I was probably going around 75% throttle, but yeah, usually I can go 95% throttle in the dry. It just kind of depends on, especially dirty air. That also has a big effect, but clean air, you can probably go around full throttle, but yeah, the setup didn't save or whatever. So yeah, that was a big struggle, but then we made the transition to F121, and that's really when I didn't start seeing. I got some podiums, but the field again, the field size, it wasn't huge. Um, then I had that issue at
Yeah,
Spa.
I remember those days.
Yeah, like you said, but at Spa, that's when I really started to have pace. I was faster than some of the first people in first. That's when I really started to have some pace. But unluckily,
Mm-hmm.
we had a rookie in front of me, Miss Hayes F1, if anyone remembers, and just
I remember
caught
her.
wrong
I
wrong
remember her.
place, wrong time, and got heat of the moment, and then yeah, spun the
At
car.
Eau Rouge, wasn't it?
Yeah,
When she
El
crashed.
Rouge. Yeah,
Eau Rouge, was it?
yeah,
Eau Rouge, yeah, I remember that. Thanks, Devin was there as well.
yeah. All those people, dude. That race was so many. There was only 3 cars running at the finish, only 3. So that's why I was mainly upset because I could have had a podium, but it's
Yeah.
part of racing. At the end of the day, it's part of it. And then we went to the final, and then obviously at Great Britain that year, Silverstone. We had this
Mm.
rookie, and he was, I mean, he sent the corner. He sent me into the grass multiple times. He dive bombed, and they were all
Ooh.
unsuccessful. And at the end of the race, there was
Mm-hmm.
a safety car, and I went into pit, and he went full throttle into the pits and destroyed my whole Aston Martin at the time.
Oh.
Yeah, he completely destroyed the side. And, Coward was apologizing because he didn't look at the clips I sent, because we had like some kind of issue, so we had to restart the race, kind of like in the middle of it. There's kind of like a red flag, you could say. And yeah, he completely destroyed the car, which was sucky because that was one of our best cars. And yeah, he completely destroyed it, and I was off, and he got banned or something from racing. But yeah,
Yeah.
I was able to get some podiums, and that kind of really leads to where we are today. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on GCOR at the moment, and how can it improve, in your opinion?
I think it's in a really good place. I really like to look back on races, so it'd definitely be good if we had someone, streaming the races and commentating all the time. Um,
100% agree with you then.
yeah, because
Yeah,
I think it's,
100%.
especially like years. Think about years down the line when you want to look back. I think it's one of those things
Yeah.
where if you don't, it's hard to
Show your
imagine it in the
grandchildren.
future. But
Mm.
I think that would help. I
Mate,
think.
I'll be showing my grandchildren.
What'd you say?
I'll be showing my grandchildren, mate.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, you want to look back on it. You want to look back when you're in your prime. Like, you're an old man and you can't do the stuff you are doing today. But
Yeah.
it would be cool to be able to look back, a lot of years into the future on what we've done and maybe how far this thing goes. You never know how far it will go. So,
Yeah,
I
that's
think it's
true.
in a
Only,
overall. I do think it's. I mean, you see the field sizes are growing. Obviously, some teams can't run full time like Haas. They struggle with funding and all that to run the full schedule, but it's still in a very good place. And unlike real life F1, the teams have a little bit more room to be with the other teams. Like Mercedes. Williams has a better chance of fighting with Mercedes than they will in Formula One. So it's just it's a great opportunity. I think it's a good place for people to start. Really getting into competitive leagues. Obviously, we don't want anyone messing around, but it is a good space for people to start beginning. And also, we have the beauty about GCOR is you can have the best people and you can have people who are learning racing. So it's a great opportunity
yeah.
for those people. It's a great opportunity for people like yourself to prove what you've got in this thing. And yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid point that you said. I think GSWA, I think it's special because on the same grid we've got world champions such as myself, Coward, and most recently Dino Bambino. You've got drivers who are going to be future world champions, such as yourself, Hurricane. Well, at least that's what I believe. As long
Thank
as you
you.
keep putting in that hard work, Foop, Midget Matt, who knows, maybe even Lando, Matt Lando, Blaze, the list goes on and on. And then you've got, drivers starting out as well, just learning, such as Blaze, drivers who are going to develop with the right tutoring, with the right teaching.
Mhm.
So I think that's what makes GCOR really, really special. Everyone's on the same grid,
Yeah.
and the environment as well. I said this before the show started. I really like GCOR environment because obviously when we're racing, the truth is when you're on track, nobody's your friend. Your only friend is the car, the mechanics,
Mhm.
and potentially your teammate. Although you want to beat him as well.
Yeah.
But then, as soon as the checkered flag drops, okay, there might be a little bit of arguing here and there on penalties, but after some time, we're all hugging again. We're all best friends.
Mhm.
So I really like that about GSOR, and I hope that can continue the same way. You know?
Yeah. No, definitely. Because I had that little incident in Japan with Midget Matt, and
Mm,
you know, I definitely think it was more of a racing incident. But if you don't know what happened, you kind of I went way deeper into turn one than he does. I found speed that way. And I didn't really expect that
mm,
because I thought everyone did what I did. So I dove down to the inside, slid the tires, got into him, and sadly he spun out. But we weren't really mad at each other. He did want a penalty, obviously, and I didn't agree. But at the end of the day, we're still good
yeah.
friends today. And obviously, as you saw, I'm going to be driving the Alpine in Singapore, so that'll be a good opportunity. But
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, I want to continue actually on that point of you driving the Alpine at Singapore. That's going to be an interesting experience for you, mate. I'm really happy for you. What's going on there, and what do you expect? What's going to happen at Singapore?
yeah, pretty much at the beginning of the year, Williams and Alpine, or season, I should say, Williams and Alpine kind of had to deal with each other. That if
Mm,
I'm not filling in a second car, obviously. I'm mainly focused with Williams, but
mm,
if he himself was
yeah.
ever out of the car, then I would take over for him. And that's what we're
Mm,
doing this weekend. I'm very excited to be able to have the Alpine colors on my suit and all that. But yeah, I think it'll be good. I think Alpine has struggled a little bit this season compared to where they were last season. We'll probably touch on that later, but I still think the
yeah.
car is insanely good. I think their strength is on street circuits. The Alpine, I think they have really good downforce levels, and
Yeah.
I think if I put in the preparation I did for China last week, I think we can get a P3. If I put in the same preparation, P4 is definitely something I'm striving for. I feel like I finished P4 a lot, but I think we can get a podium if I put in the same preparation.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, last season, Midget Matt he just missed out on pole position to Nas, and then in the race as well, he managed to finish P2 in the Alpine that you're going to be driving on the weekend. So if I were you, I would be quite excited to be in that Alpine. It looks like, as you said, the downforce is quite good. Even at Monaco, he managed to get a P3. I think you were battling him at Monaco, weren't you, last
Oh, I
season?
was on him the whole race. That one hurt. Not getting that podium. That hurt. But yeah, I was literally on his bumper every single lap. Like literally every single lap. And the gap would hardly change. It hurt to be. I almost got him at one point. He made a little mistake and his car kind of phased or whatever, and then but I didn't use ERS to pass him like an idiot. I was just kind of focused on everything else going on. The wall, it's so tight there. You have to have so much focus. And
Yeah,
yeah, in the moment, I was like, oh, I got him, and then I didn't. Yeah, that one hurt a lot. Had a lot of pace though, a lot of positives to take away. And then, the fact,
yeah.
when I started the week on the simulator, I was hitting the walls a
Mm,
lot, but I kept practicing, and I didn't. I hit them slightly like twice during the race, but it didn't do
yeah.
anything. So yeah,
Yeah. You know what? I really wish I had more simulator time, because down at the Mercedes HQ, simulator time is quite restricted
yeah,
to the point where we only have like it's crazy. It's like an hour a week of
wow,
simulator time.
yeah,
It's quite crazy. Ollie Freeman gets a little bit more, but
yeah,
I think if we had a little bit more simulator time, we'd be up there.
yeah,
But anyways, I've got another question. I have another question for you, Hurricane.
yeah.
What's your thoughts on this current season?
I think it's I think it's closer than the last one, to be honest. I think there's a lot more parity, which is good. I think that's awesome. And I think you see a lot of the teams, like you can see who's kind of charging ahead, who's kind of staying the same, and who's kind of falling off a little bit. And I think a lot of people expected, someone like Coward to struggle this season. I think, because he didn't race at the end of last season. I think some people probably expected him to finish, get podiums, obviously, but not contend for wins every week. But I mean, he's gotten faster. He's Dino Bambino level this season, and so yeah, he's found speed. Obviously, he started out with Aston Martin. Now he's with AlphaTauri. I think it's great. I think the Perry, obviously Williams. We found some stuff over the break, over the winter break into the spring, but found some stuff,
Yeah.
and obviously the Mercedes power unit has very much helped us. We appreciate Mercedes for that, and that partnership.
That's all right, mate. That's okay. That's okay, mate.
And yeah, the Mercedes looked fast. Obviously, just some execution in China kind of hurt them, but they'll be back on it. Obviously, in Singapore, they'll probably be contending for both podium positions. But yeah, there's a lot of parity. Obviously, Alpine seem to be struggling a little bit on more straightaway based tracks. Obviously, they still have some speed, but it seems like I don't think they necessarily fell off. I think all the other teams just caught up to Alpine, but I think they'll be fine. And obviously, Red Bull, Dino Bambino, he hasn't missed a beat. He's still winning races, obviously he's contending for podiums every race. He's almost winning every race. His teammate has struggled a little bit, and I'm sure we'll touch on that. But yeah, it's been awesome seeing all the parity.
Yeah, that's very true, mate. I think that this year as you said, it's going to be much much closer. Coward, I actually expected Coward to be on it, from the back. I think the fact that he missed the rear end of last season, I think he used that as almost like fuel because he was hungry to show everyone what he's got.
Yeah.
He's also, a former world champion. He's a one-time world champion, so he's obviously gonna want to show the whole world what he's got. So I'm not really surprised to see this pace. I think he's one of the fastest, and as we saw in Australia, dominated that weekend. Bambino got close, and obviously maybe a little bit too close for comfort because they had that little incident. By the way, whose fault do you think that was for the incident? Have you seen it between Dino Bambino
and Dino? Yeah.
Yeah, whose fault was it?
I really can't blame it on either one, and I know that sounds kind of weird, but if you think about it, you're at the end of the race. No one's gonna be giving any inches, and no one should, to be honest. What it seemed like to me is, Coward went to turn into the corner. Dino did as well, but I think it was just a misjudgment by them both about how much of a gap they had between each other. And obviously they made that contact, and Dino went around. Sucks for him. He still got a podium. If I was just closer to him, I could have passed him. I was catching him those last laps, but then I wore out my tires. But yeah, I think it was a racing incident. I think it was just a misjudgment by both drivers, and I'm sure they'll both learn from it. I really don't think it's on one more than the other. I mean, you could argue that there could have been more room given, but I really don't. I think it was more of a racing incident.
Yeah, I said the same thing as well. I think that little misjudgment has actually sparked a little rivalry between the two. Me and Bambino for the last couple of seasons, start of this season and last season, obviously me and him went to a title decider. We've battled quite hard. I'm talking about Kota when I managed to overtake him on the penultimate lap. I'm talking about Portimao when I managed to win that race whilst battling him and Nas. But we never collided, And I feel like him and Coward, now that they've already collided, I feel like there's a little bit of tension between them. Even when they speak to one another. Have you seen that? There's a little bit of aggression between one another.
Yeah, it definitely feels like there's a little bit of a tension between them, but I don't see it lasting too overly long because it was more of it was more of a smaller thing. I think they'll move on eventually. I think there'll be tension maybe for the next two races, but I think it will boil over at some point. I don't see them keeping it. Obviously, I think there will be always a little rivalry between them after that, but I don't think it's gonna. I don't think the tension between them, when they talk to each other in the paddock and all that, is gonna stick around for too much longer. But obviously they're gonna want to beat each other more than ever now.
Yeah, that's true. I have some questions for you. It's going to be based on other drivers and different tracks. To start off with, what are your thoughts on Foop? What do you think about him?
Yeah, I think he hasn't. I don't know. It's kind of obviously he has pace. He got that podium in Japan, but he is
Yeah.
kind of making over aggressive moves. I mean, he's trying to win the race on lap one essentially at Australia, which is race is not lap one on lap one, obviously. And
Yeah.
I really don't think it was on the McLaren's fault. He was ahead of him by a long ways, and Sakofa decided to force the issue a little bit, and then he made contact and it caused him to spin. And the part I didn't really like was him blaming your teammate off Freeman for DNFing him because he
Oh
had
yeah,
nowhere to
yeah.
go. There's nowhere for him to go. He's not going to be able to slow down that quickly, even if he was already on the brakes. I really don't. That was definitely not on him at all. Off Freeman did absolutely nothing wrong.
That was unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But obviously it destroyed his car, completely destroyed that Red Bull. I mean, the side of the door had a big hole in it at the end, when I was walking around near the haulers. The suspension was completely destroyed on the side. And then obviously this next weekend at China, again, he had to start from the back because he had 25 penalty points from the first race, and he got a quality ban. But I think he made up a position. He made up some like two positions at the start, then got spun out or something. I think he tried to clear himself, which is kind of more of a racing deal. And he spun out. And then later in the race, Naz and I think it was Skiprat made contact with each other. And Naz went around and said, Kofa, I think he thought Naz was gonna phase, so he kept going into Naz's car because I think he thought it would phase, and then hit the wing of Naz's car, and the suspension got all messed up again, and pretty much destroyed the suspension again. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
obviously he has pace, but I think he just needs to be a little bit less aggressive at the start of a race and keep that aggression for the middle portion to the end.
Yeah. I see what you mean. Those incidents, I think the one at Australia, I think Star World gave him enough room personally. Foop went in a little too hot into turn one, and obviously Ollie Freeman getting the blame for that. I think that was very unnecessary, but obviously, it was the heat of the moment, so I'm sure I can give him some slack on that behalf. China, I didn't see what happened, so there's nothing I can really say.
Yeah,
But
he
Foop,
posted the
I feel
clips, I
like
think.
Foop's always
Yeah.
been. Yeah, I gotta check the clips again. But Foop, personally, I feel like at least when I race Foop, I can trust Foop a lot. He's one of the drivers I trust the most on track because
Yeah.
Foop knows when to defend and when not to defend. At least when racing me, I feel.
Yeah.
There's some times such as Kota. Many of my comeback drives when I've arrived to Foop. Foop's put on a little bit of a fight, but nothing too overly aggressive.
Yeah.
I feel like I can trust Foop a lot, and I think Foop's going through a rough stage.
Mm-hmm.
I know Foop. I do believe Foop is going to be a future world champion.
Mm-hmm.
His pace, his one lap pace. Obviously, he got pole at Japan.
Yeah.
His one lap pace is quite impressive. It's just that consistency from race to race to keep on performing, because his race pace at Suzuka was still very impressive, getting a podium.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm sure he'll be able to
Yeah.
go through this rough patch, and for his sake, he'll come off better.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Hurricane, what are your thoughts on Midget Matt as well? What are your thoughts on him?
Hey, I think obviously he's a great driver. Obviously last season he was super consistent getting podiums. I finished second to him at Monza, obviously. I feel like I finished fourth to him a lot, but obviously he's super consistent, which is good. But obviously this season it seemed obviously he got the fourth place finish at China last week, which was really good for him. Finally, getting some luck on his side, but obviously had that little incident at Japan where on the last lap, he was like I think running in the podium and then he spun out once, which got him backwards, and then he started to make his way back up and then spun again, which was not good. And then preseason testing, he also finished like sixth in the race, but he had some weird strategy going on. Wasn't sure what's going on there, but back to the Japan race. Then he got me. He had like fresher tires at the end there, and then obviously we had that contact that I talked about, and he spun out there, finished sixth. And then at Australia, he wasn't really in the mix. I never saw him, and then at the end there he DNF'd. I don't know exactly what happened. I've never seen any clip or anything, but he DNF'd at the end.
That was a scruffy weekend for him. Yeah, scruffy weekend for him. That was,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, DNF there, and then got a fourth place at China. But yeah, no podiums, which I'm very surprised about to start off the season. But again, I think he'll turn it around.
Yeah, I think Midget Matt, he's a very quick driver on his day. Definitely top two, top three fastest drivers. I think he can battle it out with Dino Bambino, Coward, with them lot, with myself as well. When I'm up there, I think it's just trying to stay out of incidents. I think Midget Matt, he doesn't cause incidents, but he's unfortunate to be involved in incidents, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, if there was a car in front to spin, it would be such a Midget Matt thing for that car in front to hit Matt and then him get like front wing damage.
Yeah.
I think he is quite unfortunate. And that's not his fault. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But I do think that Midget Matt, the first few races he struggled a little bit, but I think he'll turn it around. I think he'll be up there.
Yeah.
Obviously he managed to get his first win last season for Monza. I'm really happy for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I do expect him to one day be a championship challenger and to even, win the championship. I'm saying it right here.
Yeah.
But I guess only time will tell. Next one. What's your thought on me? What do you think about me as a race driver?
I think, honestly, personally, I think you're one of the best people. I mean, I think your really good strength compared to everyone else are your strategy calls. I think that's what really separates you from everyone else because maybe other people are having a better day than you. Maybe you're struggling a little bit. You have pace, obviously, every weekend, but maybe you're struggling a little bit on one race. Maybe it's a track you're maybe not as comfortable on. You'll make a different strategy call than everyone else, and you'll be in the podium, and you'll be fighting for a win. You also capitalize on what other people's mistakes, which is also very important in GCOR. If someone in front of you maybe makes some over aggressive moves or maybe aren't getting the best lap time in, you'll focus. You'll put all your focus. You won't try and overachieve anything to catch them. You'll just put together your best laps, and then you'll hunt them down and you'll pass them, and you'll sometimes come out the victor, which I think it's awesome. I think that's very important. I think it's an underrated aspect of racing, and I think obviously you have a great team behind you with Mercedes, probably one of the best teams here. So I think that really separates you from everyone else.
Thank you, mate. You've left me blushing there. Yeah, I'm so grateful to be with this awesome team. The most successful team in GCOR history, Gen7 Mercedes. That's big thanks to Genius Nature, obviously, for hiring me in the first place. Ollie Freeman for being an amazing teammate. Skip Pratt for being a great reserve driver, and I think he might actually be in the car at Jeddah. And even Joseph Teep, who was driving for us. Do you remember Joseph Teep?
Oh yeah, I remember.
He was driving for us start of last season.
A lot of potential.
He did a brilliant job. Yeah, he did. It's a pity he had to retire, but these things happen. I think personally, I don't want to toot my own horn. I think I'm a decent driver, but I feel like to up my game more, we need more. Remember my Portimao weekend, how quick I was there? I feel like I need to try and do that week in, week out, because obviously, as I said, simulator time, we are very restricted on simulator time, which is probably the biggest aspect for us not, moving further forward.
Yeah.
But I do feel like if I can just turn it on like that more often, I think I'll be able to scare more drivers. But anyways, my thoughts on you, Hurricane. Mm-hmm. I think that you are a future world champion. I mean, I've seen the way that you've developed through... Yeah, that's all right, mate. It's just the truth, isn't it? I've seen the way that you've developed throughout the seasons from the time when, the GCOR Gen 1, when you were struggling to keep the car in a straight line.
Yeah.
Or at least I'm told.
It was true. Yeah.
At least I'm told. And now look at you. I think you will get your first GCOR win hopefully this season.
I hope so. That'd be awesome.
And as long as you keep on developing, you're going up and up and up. Qualifying wise, these days you're always in the top 4, top 5. Maybe a cheeky little front row.
Yeah.
depending
I
on
almost
the
got
track.
pulled in
Like
Brazil.
Brazil, remember you started PT?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think your rate of improvement has really been very very impressive, and if you keep on developing like that, putting in the time in the simulator, your team fully backing you, being fully behind you, giving you all the resources to excel. I do expect you to not only be fighting for the championship, but who knows, maybe getting the biggest prize of them all and joining names such as myself, Dino Bambino, Coward, and Nading as world
Yeah.
champions. But I guess only time will tell, and you got to keep on putting in that hard work.
Yeah, just gotta stay disciplined. Keep, I know what I want, but you have to. You can want something, but it's another thing to go and get that thing, and that's what I'm really kind of doing. Some days I won't even really want to go on the simulator, but I know. Well, don't you want to be? Don't you want to contend for podiums every race? Don't you want to win? And the only way you accomplish that is you keep going for it. So that's what I'm doing. And honestly, it is kind of a hassle getting on the sim, setting everything up, getting all the programs correct. But once I do get on it, I have a lot of fun on the simulator, and all our engineers in the Williams factory. It's an awesome place to be. The morale is really high. We've gotten some new equipment this year, which has really helped us. We've gotten brand new haulers to help morale, and everyone just loves working there this season. So it's been great. And yeah, just gotta keep putting in the time on the sim.
Yeah, mate. Best of luck for the future as well. Who would you say your biggest rival has been in, first of all, your whole racing career? From GCOR to Formula Q to Formula Nitro, and then GCOR itself. So, who's your biggest rival?
I would say in Formula Nitro for a while was probably Cyrax for a little bit there. Obviously, we're teammates now, but I feel like we were always battling with each other. We always had some little
Yeah,
heated moments, but we all, I mean, for the most part, we raced each other clean. Obviously, we had our issues. On the Formula Q side, I would probably say it was probably Coward in a good way, not like a negative rivalry way. But
yeah,
I think we were always
yeah,
battling with each other there. And obviously, he drove for my Formula 3 team at the time at Ford Performance, which was fun. He won a lot of races in the championship. That was our best season by
yeah.
far. And probably on GCOR, I guess you could say Sidkofa. I mean, I'm not really trying to make him my rival, but he definitely acts like I'm his rival. I mean, he's kind of mad about me being ahead of him in points and all that. And but that's how it is sometimes. And yeah, I'd probably say Sidkofa is my biggest rival on the GCOR side. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm shocked not to hear Beast Mode there.
Well, because I'm always ahead of Beastman. There's no rivalry to be had there.
Fair enough. I respect that. I respect that. My biggest rivals in my career, personally, I'd say back at Formula B. Do you remember all those years
Yeah,
ago,
that
mate?
was.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
wow.
Obviously in the championship, I was fighting you, Skip Rat, and Coward.
Mhm.
Um, so I'd say my biggest rival out of you three probably was actually Skip Rat.
Yeah, wow.
Now I think about it. In Formula Q, my biggest rival. I didn't really have a biggest rival, to be fair, because I was Skip Rat's number two. Obviously, that's when we went to
Mhm.
Velocity.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
But yeah, you remember that. Me and Skip Rat, Velocity
Yeah.
Mercedes. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably say Beast Mode because we were always near each other on
Mhm.
track. And then in GCR, my biggest rival ever. I've had a few rivalries with Coward most recently, Bambino as well last season. But I feel like my biggest rival ever in GCR has to be Beast Mode Sam. Obviously, we had that epic title fight back in
Mhm.
Interlagos for the GCR Championship back in Gen 2. And I think it was just everything that was said in the interviews, And by the end of the season, the grid was split in two. You're either on my side or you're on Beast Mode
Yeah.
side. On my side, it was me, Genius, and Skip Rat. Skip Rat back in the day, he was racing for our sister team, the
Yeah.
Audi. Um, and then Beast Mode, on Beast Mode side, he had his teammate Type Z. And then he had, like, do you remember FRL? FRL
Oh, yeah, I
Racing?
do. Yeah.
Yeah, he was there. This other guy called Sharking, he was
Mhm.
there. Clone Westbrook. So you either on one side or the other,
Yeah.
and so many things were said in the press conference. And then at the end of the season, I remember he didn't congratulate me, and I was really, really vexed. I was so angry. And then I was like, I'm not speaking to you again until you congratulate me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm sure one day I'll speak to Beast Mode again. We'll laugh about it. But yeah, that's been my biggest
Yeah.
rivalries.
I definitely.
But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, you
Oh
were
yeah.
saying?
No. Kind of at the end of Formula B, I lost communications with everyone. I lost my radio. I was a coward, even though it wasn't as but obviously now I'm not. But I was mad because I thought he cut me off, but I was just mad. It was all my fault. I sent it, and I got second in the championship. But I got one win that season at Kansas. But other than that, it was a fun race, and I did congratulate him once I found out that I was in the wrong. But yeah.
Fair enough. All right, we're getting to the end of the show now. So I've got some final questions for you, and that is one of those questions is your contract situation. What's your future, and do you think you'll be staying at Williams?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult to know for sure, but me, me and Coward want to be teammates again. Pretty bad. We've discussed it a lot. Obviously, I'm not going to release anyone to become. I'm not releasing Cyrax or anything like that to become teammates. So we're looking into teams that will be open next season. We've definitely been in talks with Alpine about taking over the seats. Obviously, not taking over ownership, but taking over the seats. Um, but we're not going to be releasing anyone. We're not going to be releasing Blaze from. He's still, even though he's on AlphaTauri now, he's still a part of the Williams family. We have an alliance with that
Yeah,
team.
the Williams family.
But
Yeah. Mm.
I'm not releasing Cyrix. Obviously, he has a lot of potential. He's very talented. I think he's gonna be. I think he could get a podium this season for sure. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're definitely looking to become teammates possibly next season, and we're just kind of looking around right now.
Yeah, fair enough. I think Cyrax is underrated. I think the fact that he's done how many races he's
Only
done?
two.
Two or
Only
three?
two.
Two.
I
Yeah.
mean, not including a sprint race. He's
Um,
done two features, but yeah.
yeah, two features and a sprint. So two or three, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
But I think he is quite underrated. There's been a few times where me and him have battled, such as at Australia, the main race, where he had some crazy pace. He was quick. He was right on my rear wing.
Yeah.
To be fair, I did have some floor damage, and I was trying to manage that.
Yeah.
But he was quick.
Hmm.
And what's most important, the battle we had was clean.
Yeah.
So I do think that he's got some potential.
Yeah. And he stays out of messes as
Um,
well, which is really important.
yeah, exactly. That first podium, I can feel it. It's coming. It's coming soon for
Yeah,
Cyrax.
definitely.
Do you have any dream? Do you have any like dream moves? Like any team you really want to drive for, or any team you supported when you were younger?
Definitely, there was obviously Alpine is still on that list. Obviously, I wanted. I had a lot. I had two teams on my mind for this season. Obviously, Mercedes would be awesome to drive for, but that team's stacked right now, so I don't see myself going there. I mean, if I got the opportunity, I'd probably take it. But also Alpine was a team that I was looking at, and that's definitely a team I would love to drive for. Aston Martin also is a big team that I would love to drive for, just because. It'd have to be with Coward if I went over to Aston Martin. But to relive the Aston Martin days we had in GCOR, I think it was
Gen
Gen
1.
1, yeah. So I
Yeah,
would love
yeah.
to, had a great time with that. I still have a relationship with Aston Martin, obviously, after that. I've done some cool things for them on the media side. I was able to do a test session for them I think it was Australia. They allowed me to drive one of their cars in a test session, which was really awesome. And
That's sweet. That's sweet.
yeah, and obviously I did get one test race with Mercedes a while back at Japan, which was nice to test some things for them. That was cool. And have the silver logo on my suit, but I'm trying to get relationships with a lot of teams, and obviously I have one with Alpine and Aston Martin. Those are the big ones. Small relationship with Mercedes, and but yeah, those three teams would definitely be nice. Obviously, I'm enjoying owning. I'm never gonna stop owning Williams, but and I enjoy owning the team. I enjoy getting the morale up, making our factory better, making our equipment better. Managing where the chassis are gonna race, each and every one. That's a process in itself. I'm sure you know, but yeah,
Very well, mate.
yeah, but have a good relationship with these teams, and just have to see where it goes. But definitely looking at some options. Definitely never going to get rid of Williams unless another better team comes to mind, but all the people working at Williams will hopefully follow me wherever I go.
Yeah, that's very true, mate. Anyways, I think it's time now that we wrap this cheeky little show behind. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure,
Yeah, it's
Hurricane,
been awesome.
hearing your beautiful voice. It's been a pleasure, mate. It's been a pleasure. I hope that your season can be really good, and that that first race win. I know it's coming. If I don't win it, I hope you win.
Thank
I
you.
hope you win it, mate.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Hopefully you can be on the show again soon.
Yeah, I would love to.
But anyways, that's it. GCOR show is ending. Next one will be next week, so stay tuned. And to everyone who listened through the entirety of this video, thank you and goodbye.